Hi, this is Josh from Terra, and today we're going to try something new. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on the top items that you need to get ready for canning season. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to need in the process is jars. And in front of me, I have a variety of different kinds of jars. In front, I have wide mouth from 2 quart, 1 quart, pint, half pint, and a selection of wide mouth and regular mouth. I prefer the wide mouth selection because you can see here the difference in the half pint and the half gallon. The lids are the same. They require the same lid and ring from the small all the way to the big. Now the lid and the ring combo is what keeps your goods sealed inside the jar. During the canning process, you add the lid and the ring, and that's what seals it together. After the canning process is done, the lid will be sealed to the top of the jar. You can remove the ring and use it in the next process. The small mouth or the regular mouth jars, the same process. They're just a little smaller. Now, for the regular mouth, these are still useful because things like salsas and preserves, this jar is specifically for preserves and jellies. It's easier to get your contents into these jars. Big items like cucumbers and green beans, a little harder to get into the right regular mouth. The next things I want to go over are the water bath and the pressure canner. The water bath you need for your high acidic foods. Things like salsas, tomatoes, fruits, things that are pickled, things that have a certain level of sugar content. And it's pretty simple. It's filled with water, put over heat, brought to a boil. It has a lifting basket. On the basket, you put your jars. And then they are lowered into the boiling water for a prescribed amount of time. When that time elapses, the jars are removed and set aside to cool. On the other hand, you have your pressure canner. The pressure canner is required for any low acidic food and meat products. The lid locks on. Your jars are sat inside with a small amount of water just in the bottom. It's put over heat. The top is locked and sealed on. And whenever it comes to pressure, you set your the pressure gauge for whatever pressure is needed. This one has a 5, a 10, and a 15. And it'll start to dance around whenever it comes to pressure. Then you start the timer. After the time has elapsed, you remove from heat. You let the pressure naturally go down, and then you'll be able to remove the lid from the pressure canner. You remove your jars and set them aside for cooling. The next thing you're going to need is something to lift those jars out of the boiling water. So, after the basket is raised, you have a jar here that's extremely hot. And traditionally, use something like this, a jar lifter. Simple operation, holds onto the side of the jar, it's lifted out, it's put in the cooling area. I have links to similar items in the description below. Something that I found that I really enjoy are the heat-resistant gloves. These can be used, reach right in and grab the jar. Put it in your cooling area. I find it's a lot faster and a lot less cumbersome to pull the jars in and out instead of trying to work the jaws of the jar lifter. Something else that's very useful, a timer. Start your boil, set the time. When the timer's up, remove the jars from the canner. Something that I like to use is an Amazon Echo device. You can set multiple timers for different processes. Sometimes I have the canner going, and sometimes I have something on the stove for the next process. Alexa, start a 10-minute timer.
10 minutes, starting now.
It's just that easy. Next, I'm going to talk about a few pantry items that's a good idea to stock up on now, before the season gets going, because sometimes some of these things are really hard to find. things like sugar, vinegar, white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, the spices that you're going to use for your recipes, celery seed, mustard seed. Mustard seed last year was hard to find in my area. I get black peppercorns, sometimes mixed peppercorns, and canning salts. These come in different sizes. This is just some I have left over from last year. I need to stock up. A couple of other things that you should look for is some of the additives that you use in the canning process. Some of that's things like pickle crisp. You add these to things like pickles, okra, to maintain crispness. If you're going to do pie fillings, then you need to have something like this. It's called clear gel. You add this, and it maintains the thickness that you need for those pie fillings. Also, very important thing to stock up on are the jars and the lids. Like I said before, you can reuse the rings, so the lids are the things that you really need to look for in the store. They come in boxes, or sometimes even taller boxes with mini on them. Sales online sometimes have these at pretty good prices. Jars, they don't go bad. You can find a lot of these at yard sales and flea markets, so keep your eyes open. If you're getting any value out of this video, be sure to hit like, and go to the channel, hit subscribe so you get updates when I put out something new. If you have any questions or comments, leave those in the section below also. The next items are just those nice to have items. The things that make the whole process a little bit easier. The number one item that I like to use is the outdoor propane burner. This is just your traditional outdoor turkey fryer connected to a propane tank, except I put my pot of boiling water on it. Canning happens in the summertime when it's already hot enough. So keeping that heat outside, always a good idea. And like every 40-year-old male adult, I have 3 of them. The next thing that I like for moving the jars around is some sort of tray or basket. I picked this up at some random hardware store years ago. I can take my jars that are ready to go in the canner from inside on the kitchen to outside to the water bath, and then when they're ready to cool, I can put them back in here, bring them inside, and set them to the side for cooling. Other things that make the process easier are just good measuring items. Measuring cups, whisks, measuring spoons. I keep measuring spoons just for this process. A good whisk for stirring your items on the stove. A kitchen scale. These are a couple helpful items. So it's prescribed that you sterilize your lids prior to putting them on top of the jars. This is just a simple magnet for getting them out of that boiling water. This is a funnel for setting on top of the jars to scoop in the contents. Saves you from making a big mess on the rims. I also understand that a lot of people might not have the space to put an outdoor propane burner or even a stove that'll hold a large pot of water. So, in the description below, I have links to options of electric water canners, pressure canner combos, or even something that I've never tried, a steamer bath. It's a shallow pot with a big lid, set the jars on, and it steams on the stove. I'm excited to maybe try that this year. So, in front of me, I have a few things that I canned last season. Blackberry preserves, peach preserves, peach pie filling, a bunch of different kinds of pickles. I have some sweet gherkins, dill and sweet relish, okra, bread and butter chunks, kosher spears, a big jar of pickles, garlic, and peppers. I'm excited to try this. And something just with some color pop. These are sun gold cherry tomatoes with some garlic and a couple of peppers. If you've gotten anything out of watching this video today, please remember to hit subscribe, hit like, and stay tuned for more videos in this series where I talk more about canning and preserving methods, as well as some safety tips. We'll answer questions that you might have. And later in the season, Maybe we'll even talk about some recipes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time as we work towards making a better Terra.